As part of the National Bank of Abu Dhabi's Global Financial Market Series, energy experts met in Kuala Lumpur to discuss the future of energy, the West-East Corridor.
Today, and we're going to kick it off with the future of energy. The West-East Corridor is expected to be the fastest growing super region in the world over the next 10 to 15 years. I want to kick this off with you, Tan Sri. What do you think this is going to mean for Malaysia?
Well, of course, if we were to look at the situation right now, then there are concerns about falling oil prices and so on. But I think we should be looking at this in the long term. Certainly, the world is not going to end insofar as energy supplies are concerned, because more and more with technology and with new discoveries, there are always the possibilities.
Torstein, what's your view on this drop that we've seen in oil prices, and what's your sense of the type of demand we can expect going forward?
I think in the short term, may see 40 and even 20 US dollar for sentimental trading reasons. But of course, the long term, in my understanding, the long term marginal cost for new development is 80 to 100 US dollar per barrel. And I'm sure that's where we're going to end in the medium to long term.
A few years ago, everyone was worried about peak oil and there not being enough energy out there to meet the world's needs. And now we are just awash in supply. Has the framework changed because of shale?
Partly, yes, but not too much. I think the prices have dropped, but no one knows how long the low prices are going to be. I don't think so it's going to be long, maybe 6 months to a year. Things will have to change, because if prices remain low, there are going to be other repercussions. I think the oil producers may slow down production. They have no other choice, because most of them are now operating in deep waters. Deep waters are not cheap.
Tan Sri, energy security. It's going to be a big issue for this part of the world going forward. Tell us what you see and what you're concerned about.
No, obviously energy security is of great importance, not only to the countries in the region, but all over the world. So energy security is something that governments, private sector, and other stakeholders will have to address.
Anthony, is this something the ADB looks at?
Yes, and I think the supply, it's more of a supply security. What is the source of energy that's going to play a role going forward to 2020, 2035? And studies that we have done on our energy studies shows coal is going to go up, at least in Southeast Asia and even South Asia. Because coal is available, coal is still cheap within this region, and that's where it is. But the challenge for most of them is where do you get energy at a cheap price? And that's where the security comes, because energy is subsidized.
Energy security to me in Malaysia is a question of how we can move into a sustainable price level. And sustainable price level, I mean, is that people actually have to pay the price that energy costs. If people pay the price that energy costs, the energy security will be secured, because it's a global commodity. But commodities are available if investors are there, and investors are there if it is a safe and good investment environment.
Do you guys believe in global warming? Mark?
I do.
I can read the evidence.
I do.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, the global warming, if we believe the scientists, the global warming comes from CO2 equivalents. The 1 billion rich people in the world have created 74%, according to World Bank, of the man-made CO2. They have to pay the bill.
But do we have to face the fact that the developing world may now have to take the environment into account when developing these projects?
That's one of the reasons why we tell them, because if you look at the energy pattern, by 2035, the developing Asia will consume almost close to 50% of the global energy will be spent in the Asia Pacific. And we will actually produce almost 50% of the global CO2 at that time. But if the pattern continues the way we see, that's why we tell them, you need to look at renewables, you look at cross-border trading, you look at hydropower to play into the mix to a certain extent. Of course, nuclear is the other issue, but some countries are looking at, and we say, if you're looking at nuclear, then go for modular, the more efficient fourth generation nuclear plants, which are much better than the old first generation or second generation plants. So that's the choice they have to make.
the Global Financial Markets Series, hosted by the National Bank of Abu Dhabi.